Alright, what's going on guys, it's Liam here and welcome to another video on the channel. And in today's video, I want to talk about the new stat maxes for level 170 that the developers have confirmed. Now, there are two different kinds of stat maxes for level 170. We're going to be talking about the more controversial side of things, which is going to be the 170 stat maxes for the first half of Wallaroo. Now, if you guys are a little confused what I'm talking about, it's essentially, well, just watch yesterday's video, I guess. But, there's going to be half of the gear available at the start of Wallaroo. And we're not going to be able to obtain the other half to actually reach the, well, stat maxes, right? So essentially what they're doing is they're going to have a stat max for 170 that basically resembles 160. Now, I'm going to throw this up on screen for y'all to look at right now, so you can kind of, visually see what the hell I'm talking about in this video. So, yeah, we'll have 160, 170 first half, and then we'll have 170 after we get all of our gear. Now, for a while, we only saw 160 straight to 170 after the gear, and a lot of the community was like, okay, like, this seems like an update. This is pretty cool. The, the reception and the community feedback to the new stat maxes, like the 280 damage, for example, was, I would say, pretty positive. And then Kingsdale comes out and says, obviously, only half of the gear is going to be available, so we're doing different stat maxes, which is what we're going to see right here in the middle of the screen, okay? So this is kind of what players are very, very pissed off about, is the stats in the middle of the screen. I'll throw up a tweet right now from, I think, Overtime. I think Peyton is his name. Pretty good tweet on Twitter. But a lot of people are very upset about this because you're essentially adding the rings, you're adding the themes, which, again, cool. Jewel audit. I really like it. Really cool stuff. Not hitting on that. But you're going to be adding all this outgoing and all this health to the game. And then damage and pierce are going to barely increase, if not increase at all. Right? So if I blow up these stat maxes for 160 and 170 first half of Wallaroo, you're going to see the stats are literally pretty much the same, right? The same pierce, pretty much the same damage, right? I think the resist might go up a bit, but like not by much. I think the resist is about the same as well, if I'm not mistaken. So all we're seeing with this update is basically outgoing and health like shoot to the moon, okay? Now, the reason people are up in the air about this is because PvP has been made unplayable for about 4 months straight now, I want to say. The entire queue is filled with Q snipers, Jades, PvE people, and it's just not fun to play. Nobody wants to play a life that's not even playing the game. The elo system can't work when nobody's in queue and everybody's boosting and Q sniping each other, so PvP the past 4 months has been in a very bad state. Whether you want to be a positive guy or a negative guy, it has objectively been in a bad state, and you can see that reflected on the board and the players quitting. Look at that on Twitter, look at that on Discords. It's not in a good state. Okay, now instead of rolling out the 280 damage 170 build, and they're instead just going to be adding all this health, adding all this outgoing, and then leaving the limits pretty much the same, the damage limits the same from 160. Now, I have no idea what the devs are thinking here, right? The entire queue has been held hostage for 4 months by Life Wizards. And this update is essentially buffing Life Wizards, okay? Now, if they're gonna do this update and like actually make counters better for like weaknesses, for traps, for heal counters, okay. Maybe it's a different kind of PvP. Maybe we could see, what happens, get some feedback. But to my knowledge, there doesn't seem to be any kind of PvP balancing change update, which, again, going on 4 months now, is pretty sad to see, right? The last big update we had at PvP was the Shadow 1 and 2 pips, which wasn't a bad change. People still run a ton of Shad, though, and you still get the Shad at around the same rate, so it doesn't really change that much. You just can't Shad into a Shad or strike into a Shad anymore, which I guess that did solve a bit, but that's not really a big balancing change. So there hasn't been a big balancing change for PvP, I want to say, in roughly, yeah, like I said, a little over 4 months, right? We had the Shad change. We only had Barry be protected, unprotected. Same thing with life heals, and obviously putrefaction that used to be like -35, chromatic, which was absolutely AIDS. So, haven't had a big bouncing update for a while in PvP, and then the one, semi little update we're getting is essentially making the problems worse, which is kind of insane because with a final 170 stat build with 280 damage, you could maybe argue, okay, outgoing's going up, health's going up, but at least, for example, on a storm, I'm getting like 40 more damage, I'm getting like 2 more pierce, I'm getting like 2k more health, or, in Myth's case or Fire's case, you're getting like 30 to 40 more damage, right? And getting like 6, 7 more pierce, right? With like 3k more health. So, at least with the final build, there is some justification to it, but with this one in the middle here, at the start of Wallaroo, it just doesn't look good. And again, this kind of shows the big disconnect between developers and players we have going on right now. Players have been begging, like I said, for 4 months almost now, for updates to the game, make the counters better, nerf Vampire, nerf Banshee, address Earthquake, nerf Healing, nerf Setting, nerf Resist, and it's been radio silence. I know the devs have been busy with Wallaroo. Listen, I get it, okay? But simply just talking about the stuff and even addressing it in like the test realm server, on like a KI live, or just in general, something like that on Rapid stream, like talking about the problem and addressing it goes a long way, but it's just been radio silence, and players are very upset about this. And when you make an update, just visually look like it's gonna make the best school even better, and you're not gonna like do anything to compensate for that, it looks bad, right? Now, if Kingstown's gonna properly do this update, they should at least make heal counters work, right? Look, for example, right now, you only have Pirate, you only have Triton. Both of those don't work against a Life Wizard, right? What else do you have? Gearhead Destroyer and Snowdrift. Those are kind of like okay, but not every school can use them. And they're not that reliable. They're not that great, right? So the right way to go about this update would be to buff life with the outgoing and the healing. And then either skyrocket the damage, like the final build of 170, or actually make the heal counters work. But we've had no communication, no resemblance of an update of like damage going up or the counters getting better against those schools, right? So it just looks really bad, and like I said, this just really just highlights the disconnect between developers and players, right? Like I'm gonna be making a meme pretty soon of a short where Rapbeard says Storm is like overperforming in our combat model or something, and then you look at the win rate, or you look at like the meta, and Storm is literally bottom tier with Fire. It's just absolutely hilarious to me. Like, the disconnect between developers and players is at an all-time high, and it's really, really apparent. So yeah, man, like I said, the proper way about this would be to obviously buff whatever the defensive schools like they are doing in this update, and then make the counters better to those respective schools, like Life, for example, or Death with weakness counters. But like I said, no communication. They haven't said anything about doing that this update, so this is why players are extremely, extremely heated, and I myself, I'm just like disappointed, I'm not the only one who feels this way. I know a lot of other content creators have talked to in my Discord, just got random DMs, even players are just upset with it, and we know that reflects in the numbers in the queue. You can just simply look at the start of 5th Age, how many high-ranked players there were, how many there are now. People are dissatisfied with their products. They're unhappy with PvP, and the communication just isn't there even to address the problem, right? To at least have us feel listened to as players. There's nothing. There's radio silence, and it's just players aren't happy. So I really hope, this is just something like they're way too busy with Wallaroo to even get in PvP. Hopefully they can add in, like, I don't know, some better heal counters with this start of Wallaroo change, because if it doesn't, we're going to be going on more than 4 months of having a dead queue and unplayable game. So really hoping that's not the state. I love this game. I want to see PvP do better, and it hasn't been it. It hasn't been it, bro. And I know a lot of people are feeling the same way, and it's really, really sad to see the game I love be this crappy. Yeah, man, let me know what you guys think about these stat maxes and everything I talked about in the video down there in the comments below, guys. And I will see you guys on my next video. Thank you for watching, and as always, take care, y'all.